Shields up, Iron Breakers, and welcome to another episode of Kast. And today we have a very special episode because once again we have with us Joe and Jonno from Capcom to talk about Monster Hunter. How you guys doing?
We're good. Silence. We're back.
That beginning awkward silence. We always need to get that one out of the way.
We're too polite. Like, we're always waiting for the other to go first, right? You know?
Yeah, who's going to go first? Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't talk over each other.
No, talk over each other. Like, this is something that needs to be normalized because my audience gets mad at me whenever people talk over each other in a podcast. No, talk over each other, actually.
All right. We're going to make everybody watching this rage. All right, Jonno, talk over me.
Well, anyway,
go.
No, wait.
There you go. That's the way to do it. Thank you. No, first, obviously, I want to congratulate Joe for, becoming a father. Joe, how's fatherhood treating you so far?
Oh, man, it's been great. Not a lot of sleep, I'm sure, as you know.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, but I'm hanging in there. It's, it's a roller coaster. It's like, it's a very fulfilling experience, but also, man, I don't remember what it's like to sleep for more than 4 hours, or 3 hours even. Actually, I was telling you guys before this, this is the most sleep I've gotten in a while, which is nice. But
so how many hours was it today?
Man, I slept at 11 last night, and I got 2 stretches of 4 hours, which is good.
Oh man, dude, yeah. when you're that early into it, which he's what, barely a month at this point, right?
This is 7 weeks. 7 weeks.
7 weeks. Okay, so almost 2 months. So it's getting 2 stretches of 4 hours at that. That's an absolute privilege. Okay, people that haven't gone through this don't know that is an absolute privilege.
Yeah. It's like my body is trying to hold on to it at the end there. It's just no, just keep sleeping. You don't know when you're going to get this chance again, but I'm all good. I'm ready to go.
That's good to hear. So another thing is, I guess I should congratulate both of you and the teams at Capcom because you got 4 nominations at the Game Awards.
Yeah, it's great to see Capcom represented that way. And obviously with Wilds in the most anticipated category. With some, fantastic games among us. But we're used to challenging hunts, so yeah, should be interesting.
We're gonna win. I've been running a campaign on Twitter. Absolutely, Monster Hunter Wilds is winning. There's no question in my mind that it is going to win the most anticipated category.
Yeah, you should have seen how surprised I was when I was on YouTube and a 5-second video of you just going, "Vote Monster Hunter the Game Awards" came up, and then it's just before you could skip it.
Yeah. I saw you rallying everybody online. I'm like, man, fighting the good fight. But yeah, that is a legit behemoth to try and beat. So
I mean, that's the whole story of hunters. Where we're small dudes fighting big monsters. That's the whole shebang.
Yeah, I mean, when we saw, we're all just like, oh man, it's an honor to be nominated.
Yeah.
But then the idea of winning is ooh, that's the big one. I don't know, man.
There was also nominations for Kunitsugami, which I really enjoyed playing earlier this year in the Sim strategy category or something like that. And Dragon's Dogma 2 got nominated for Best RPG, also running up against quite a couple of behemoths in that category. And the fighting compilation game that you guys released, I forget the exact name of it because it always has all those Marvel versus Capcom something.
It's the Marvel Capcom collection.
The Marvel Capcom collection, yeah. That one's also nominated for best fighting game, so good to see, good representation at the Game Awards. But the most important Game Award for me is no, we gotta win most anticipated. Wilds it has to win the most anticipated.
Yeah, we got to be in it to win it. So
exactly, that's the way to do it. So
yeah, just real quick on the Game Awards. The best RPG category, I think it's got to be the most packed of any year. I feel like I've only played RPGs this year. I've been stuck in Atlas games for 200 hours at this point, throughout the entire year. There's just so many of them, and I'm still playing Rebirth, which is also 100 hours. So yeah, just a crazy year for RPGs.
Lots and lots of good stuff. I personally spent a ton of time in Shadow of the Earth Tree, played that through 3-4 times. Amazing. So yeah, lots of good stuff.
Yeah, I've
So
just started Metaphor, so I'm going to be there, stuck in there for a good few days, I think.
I can imagine. So I have a very important question from the community. People are very worried about this very particular thing, and that is, where is Poogie?
Where is Poogie?
Yeah.
Well, it's always where is Poogie, not how is Poogie.
No, nobody seems to care how he's doing, right? You are correct, but like everybody wants to know where he is. But yeah, I guess we don't know where Poogie is yet.
Yeah, I think it's nice
don't
that
know.
we got all these a Poogie is a character, right? They're not just an animal, anymore. They've
Of
transcended.
course.
It's great that we have all these, characters and things that people love and want to see and things like that. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? I'm obsessed with the baby Seikrets myself, from what I've seen all of the clips and pictures from the beta.
Yeah, a lot of people are hunting down like all those cute little animals. I know that Shinkai was like running all over the map while I was murdering Raydao 50 times with different weapons. He's just like, no, I'm gonna sit here and record the wildlife and see what they're doing and all of that.
It's the duality of hunters.
The duality
It's like
of
some people
hunters,
just
indeed.
want to chill and check out all the endemic life, and other people are just like, no, I'm gonna kill Raydao
I
in
mean,
5 minutes.
you have to figure. Well, not 5 minutes is that's a bit much. I'm not in that category. I was happy with like sub 14. Sub 14 is good enough for now. Like, once the final game releases, I'm sure we can get it better. But no, now for real though, I think one of the biggest questions is, so what was the objective of the beta? Because, there's demos, and the purpose of a demo is like, okay, here's a taste of what this game is. And over the last couple of years, I feel like in the industry, we've had a lot of developers will actually use betas kind of like demos. And the vibe that I got from this specific beta is that is not the intent. But maybe you guys can correct me on that. I don't know.
You want to start with this one, Joe?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I think with any beta, obviously, like the goals are multifaceted, but for this one in particular, I think the key focus was testing the network. And at first we had like the PlayStation part of the beta, which was a nice way to kind of like ease that in of like, let's see where we're at with a single platform. And then we bring everybody in with crossplay. Obviously, like we've never done that before in a Monster Hunter game. We've done it with Street Fighter, but at this scale, it's just something that the team hasn't done before. So testing the network was super important to make sure that we're ready on launch to get an even bigger amount of people in, because we don't want people to just like be stuck in queues and just being unable to play, which is just like, it's a pretty quick way to lose a lot of people. So the network part of it is really important, but also, I mean, again, it definitely was not a demo, which we stressed multiple times, but it is a chance for people to get a taste of core mechanics of the game, the different weapons, the monsters, and I think obviously like we weren't necessarily quite there on like every aspect because the game's still in development, and it is like kind of a snapshot of where the team was in a certain amount of time, and it's also it's not like this is like just, oh, we took the live product and here it is, it's there, right? It doesn't work that way. It's like the team has to like specifically take this part of the game, and it is like just built for this beta. So yeah, it's like a balance of like really, again, testing the network, but also like want to give people a little bit of a taste of the game, even though not everything is quite finished yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And like as Joe said, it was an actual beta for us. And it is great that people, there is marketing involved, people get to play it, there's awareness, first hands on, but it absolutely was what you would call a beta test for us. And it was really cool for us to be able to put out our post, if you do follow us on our social media like Monster Hunter, that the team are actively reviewing the feedback that we've received, like from the community, what the team has seen, what Joe and I have fed back, and everything in between, and that they are going to inform everyone of the details of our response to the beta feedback at a later date. So it's very much like, look, this was a beta. We're going to talk more about it in the future. I'll kind of watch this space as well. So yeah, it's there'll be a full circle for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also just like one more thing. I mean, like you kind of think about like the cycle of the game. We've been at like a lot of public events at this point. So people have gotten the chance to go out and play it, but it is such a different like experience to play it at an event. You have a limited amount of time. You're playing with other people. You can't really like just like sink your teeth into it. So it's always great to get those impressions at the public events, but like then the next step of that is to bring it open to the public, where it's just like now people are gonna like break it apart as much as possible and just really like sit there with their thoughts and like really enjoy the game. So I think that's like the natural next step for us, or like from where we went. So now that we've had that beta, I think we've got a lot of data to look at. So it's really good.
Yeah, that was like initially my theory, particularly because of the fact that we were loading into like stacked lobbies, because it wasn't even like, oh, we'll put like 20 or 30 people. No, it's like you're loading into a lobby that has 90 people in it. And I know that we only render 16 hunters, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's the way that it works, because there were a lot of people that thought that we were rendering like 100 hunters on our machines, and I was like, no, that's not happening.
You have to get in the queue to go see Gemma at the armory, or to go, get in the tent. It'd be like going to a festival. I need to go to the toilet.
Exactly. So I was actually impressed with the way that it worked with network, because usually whenever you have, particularly nowadays, when something is always online, which, if I'm not mistaken, that's not the intent for the final product of Monster Hunter Wilds, but the beta was very much always online. And usually whenever you launch something that is always online and you have as much demand as we've seen for this beta, which the player concurrent count was up to 463,000 at its peak on Steam, and that's just one platform. So I would wager like upwards anywhere from 600,000 to 800,000 people were playing the game simultaneously during that peak. That's my estimate, give or take. Conservative estimate, by the way, it might be way more. But considering that number of people accessing it, again, during a beta, and we didn't really see the beta crash in terms of like servers exploding. We saw disconnects, which I kind of think is predictable. It is a beta. But there was never like, okay, now you get put into a queue, or, oh, we have to bring the servers down for 2 or 3 hours. It was like, oh, you got disconnected, reconnect, jump back in, should be good. And me personally, I didn't experience that many disconnects. I had like a couple of crashes here and there, nothing too big. But I thought that from a network perspective, I was actually impressed, because again, you see MMORPGs launching all the time, and during their release window, it's just like, uh-oh, servers need to go down, 5-hour maintenance, tomorrow we have to bring the servers down again at this specific time. Or now we're implementing a queue, and people jump in, it's like queue 1,000 out of... And people are like, oh, now you have to wait 2 hours to log in. And we didn't have any of that. So that was impressive.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. When we planned to do some streams that week, which we did two streams of the open beta. And my deep-seated fear was just like, oh, geez, like if we're streaming on the official account and I just see these servers explode, it's not going to be a good look. And everything was great. Like everything ran perfectly. And I was like, wow, okay. No disconnects during the stream. Even though I was just playing on my own time, I think I only had like one disconnect. Which I was really pleasantly surprised. So hopefully that bodes well for where we're at on launch day, which I think like I saw some stats that's like even on Steam, like the concurrence for like open betas and demos is actually usually lower than it is for like the full product. So I guess we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, but it was very impressive, and it was really cool to see, because I think with Wilds we're going to be welcoming a lot of new people in the community, which is a good sign for a game that's been going for as long as Monster Hunter. That there's now a lot of people that are going to be jumping in for the first time with Wilds. But one of the big questions that a lot of people ended up having, which I'm 99% sure that I know the answer to, but I just wanted to get it from you guys. We are going to be able to make private lobbies when the official game launches, right? Like password protected lobbies and stuff like that, I would imagine. Kind of like what we had in World, at least.
Yeah, I don't think we can talk about the exact details of how it works, because we might not know the spec exactly, but the way it was in the beta was definitely intentional.
It was
it's
intentional
not
for the
representative
test,
of,
yeah.
Because it's not representative of like how it will work in the actual game, because you couldn't play this offline. So I mean,
there were kind of ways around it. Like if you idled in town long enough, you would actually end up offline, apparently.
Yeah, that actually surprised me too. I was like, oh well, I got a baby and I don't want to like necessarily like be online all the time. Maybe I'll just like let this time out.
Yeah, I know that there were some people that were like letting it idle after the period, and they were like, "Oh, got to keep this session alive as long as possible."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that was some fun times. But I think that one of the biggest things has definitely been the performance, and this is one of those things that I'm not sure how much you guys are even allowed to talk about it at this point. But it is one of the biggest concerns that the community has right now, performance, particularly on the PC side of things, because of frame generation and all of that. So, any words that you guys can say for the community that I know will be listening with, a lot of attention, basically.
Yeah, I think, to kind of point back at the tweet we mentioned recently as well, and as Joe said, there's been a ton of feedback across the spectrum from gameplay, performance, bugs, crashes, everything in between. And the team have been going through all that and working their way through it. And as you saw, it was such a core subject for a lot of gamers and people that tried the beta. So hopefully we'll have some messaging about that in the future. But that's what the great thing about a beta is, especially so far ahead of launch. Not only can consumers try things, but we learn a lot as well our side, because you never know what rig's going to turn up in your beta.
Yeah.
You never know what kind of PCs are going to rock up, and things like that. So watch this space, and yeah.
I can tell you guys that I was able to kill Ray Dow on my streaming computer because I wanted to put it to the test when people were saying that they were having all these problems. I was like, all right, so my streaming computer has a 10-year-old processor. It's an Intel i7 something. I forget what it's 10 years old. Okay, it's really old.
Yeah.
And 2060 with I think 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And I tweaked some settings and lowered down the shadows and put the LSS on, all of this stuff. I would say medium low settings, and it was hovering around 40 FPS, and I was able to kill Ray Dow with the charge blade. I did die once to greed because I'm greedy, so but I was able to do it, and I was actually surprised that it would even run. It did take a long time to compile the shaders, though. I was sitting there for like half an hour compiling shaders on this old system, but it still ran. So that's why I kind of reached the conclusion that it's like I don't think that this was super optimized to run well as possible, but it was more like optimized to run on as many configurations as possible to basically get the network test. But again, that's just stuff that we'll know at a later date, I guess.
Yeah. Our teams know how important performance is. This is something that I think is really close to us as well. Like we have been really like kind of trying to give as much feedback on this as possible. We know it's very important to everybody. So yeah, like, we don't have too much to say about it right now, but again, it was a beta, so it's not necessarily representative of what the full product will be, but team's working hard on it, and we should have more to share.
So one of the things that I was impressed though is just the sheer monster density because I did get to play it when we were at Gamescom, but at Gamescom because of the small time slots that we had allotted to us, like, oh yeah, let me just walk around, check out the monsters. It's like I'm trying to figure out as many weapons as possible and going through, right? But with being able to actually check things out, I was impressed because it didn't seem to me like the small monsters are despawning. Like, for instance, in World, you would come up on the ancient forest, you attack the Aptonauts that are there, and they'll run away, but if you chase them after a little bit, they'll disappear. And I don't think that is actually happening in Wilds, is it?
Well, I'd say the big thing for Wilds is, it is this living, breathing world. And, if you follow like large monsters, endemic life around and things like that, you will see them going about their day, beyond, fighting you or, getting chopped by you kind of thing. So, it really is a big part of the immersion that's there for the players, especially those endemic life enjoyers out there.
I've heard about like Strigen migrations, and I was like, wait,
Mm-hmm.
what? I was like, these
Feeding their
little
little ones and things.
these little tiny endemic life monsters, and they migrate throughout the map and whatnot. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, this is like it's such a core pillar of like what this team does. Like they want to build this world that really feels like it's a crazy ecosystem that's always interacting. So I think this was the next step after coming from World, and now with extra hardware power. Like I was seeing like a lot of people who are playing the game maybe on like lower spec rigs, or like, well, like, is it really that much jump over World? But it's like there's so much more happening in these maps and these environments. There's so many more elements. There's so much more endemic life monsters all at the same time. That's like the next generation jump that the team was trying to make, right? Just to really take all those ideas from World that like maybe felt like a little bit more instanced, and now it's like, oh, here's this world that's like really dynamic, and like a lot of different things can happen at the same time. So I think like as people like are able to see more than just the windward plains, and like outside of just like this like weather pattern and everything's just designed just for this beta, they'll be able to see that a little bit more. But as for now, like the beta itself was just kind of like that slice of it. But yeah, I think you'll see everything come together as you get into the full game.
And another really impressive thing to me was that there is actual terrain deformation happening as well, which is something that also takes its toll from a GPU standpoint. Like, for instance, if you're fighting a Doshiguma in the desert, then the Doshiguma punches the ground, and sometimes even coins come out of it. And there's like these coins that have like the shape of the logo of the game. People are like,
the crabs.
Yeah, the crab coins or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so it's like there's deformation happening in the dunes, and your hunter actually reacts to it. Like when you're walking over like the footsteps and whatnot, it's not like, oh, there's this invisible hitbox here, and whenever we deform it, your hunter's just gonna like hover over it. No, it is actually organic. And I was like, oh, this is crazy. And it's kind of the same thing when the Balaharas start doing the spinning thing, the sand trap. That also deforms like the whole terrain around, which is crazy interactability with the ground itself.
Sand is underrated in games. Everyone's always like, "Oh, let me see the snow effects," and like,
the water,
the water. But what about sand? All right, like this is the first time. Well, maybe not the first time. I'm sure there's other games with like really crazy deserts, but I think it was like Uncharted 3 or something. I remember that had like crazy sand.
So basically, Duran Moran confirmed. Yep, 100%. Yeah, I know. Yeah, with the skiff, right? Yeah. We're gonna have like the sand ship and Duran Moran. Thank you for confirming that.
I can see the conspiracy videos coming from you already.
Me conspiracy.
The red lines.
Yeah.
The bulletin board. Yeah.
I mean, that's me. That's me with ancient civilizations, which I've been going hard on ever since we had the lightning rods in the very first teaser trailer. I was like, look, there was another civilization here before us. I know it. I see the signs. But yeah, there's even more of that, like in the Scarlet Forest. There's a lot of elements, and and I was diving deep on that Tokyo Game Show footage that we had, because I went through like I cut up the video that you guys had on the Japanese Capcom channel. I cut up the Monster Hunter portion, then I uploaded it to YouTube because they have like machine learning translation on the spot. And so then I was reading the translations, and I was trying to figure out, why is the water red? Is it because of Lalabarina, or is Lalabarina red because the water is red? And they didn't explain it, and I was like, oh! I have like this whole theory about like iron deposits in the water, and that is what's making the water become red. And then the rain comes in and washes the sediment away. And like I have this whole thing, like I'm going crazy. Okay.
I swear we got an explanation for this pretty recently. I just can't remember what it is. Do you remember, Jonno? I feel like
no, same. I was like thinking, I was trying to rack my brains.
Oh my God. So there might already be an official thing out there, and I haven't seen it yet.
I think there is. Yeah, I swear I saw it. Like,
because like
my life's a blur. I don't remember.
I know that the dev said. I think they explained the reason the webs are red is because of the water, but they don't explain why the water is red. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was going through all these theories. Ancient civilization, rust, and rust comes downstream. The rust is coming from like the oil well basin. It's straight up conspiracy board stuff.
We're gonna chase this down. I need to know.
So one of the things that I think a lot of people are going to be curious about is, do you guys get to play internally a lot? And was like the beta as big of a deal for you as it was for us?
Yeah, so like, oh, sorry, Joe, do you want to go first?
No, go for it, go for it.
Yeah, like, when, for example, the open beta, before that came out, we get the building to, have a little go on it. And yeah, it's a ton of fun. And, we were lucky enough to obviously play the physical event builds as well, which, they do have, similarities. So yeah, we do get a little hands-on with those kind of things. It's
But is
important
it
for our knowledge and understanding, and, we get to have a bit of fun.
but is it like time limited? Like, oh, I get to play this for like an hour or something, or do you guys just
You
like,
get a
oh,
bit more flexibility.
okay,
I think it's more like it's limited by our like
your
actual
schedule?
like our workday time of just like, oh yeah, you could spend like an hour doing this, but then you're gonna have a meeting, you have other stuff to do, and it's like then the day's over.
But you're
Yeah,
not
I went
allowed to
down for
play
the
it.
day just to play for a whole day. I was like,
Yeah.
because I don't work in the London office directly, I'm remote mostly. Booked an extra day, went down to the office, and I sat in there like a little gremlin, playing the build all day.
I'll say this about the open beta is a lot of the online features and like even the way like the lobbies worked, those were surprises to us because we hadn't tested the beta in like an online setting. So
Yeah.
we were learning a lot of stuff as you guys were learning it and trying to figure it out. And I think it's helpful for the team too because we're able to take like, oh, this is what our experience was, and like, was it good? Was it bad? Like, let's try to figure this out, like how the average person's gonna go through it. So yeah, there's a lot of surprises for us on the actual beta day, I guess.
That's interesting because I figured you guys would just have like a build, and I think most people probably just think you just have a build installed on your computer, you can play it whenever you want. But I imagine you only get to play it during your work time. It's not like, oh, I finished my work day, I'm just going to keep playing the beta now. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of process when we have to like
Yeah.
if we actually want to play something, then it's a lot more complicated than that. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I just like I'm gonna leave this call and go play right now, but nope.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I've just got another screen over there. No, security is like paramount for us. So we make sure it's in an internal safe environment, and not just hanging around on your work computer, like your
Yeah.
personal one or something.
So, I'd like to get from the both of you like your overall vibe on just like the community sentiment that you guys felt like just watching social media and stuff like that from your end. Like, what was the overall community sentiment response to the beta?
You wanna go first, Jonno?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can look at it in kind of two ways. Obviously, people physically getting to play the game for the first time and their enjoyment experiencing the gameplay, and then two, constructive criticism, feedback, and things like that. And I think seeing the joy of people playing the game and seeing the fan art, seeing the comments, seeing people sharing their hunters, their palicos, it really was a joy because we got to share in that excitement. And I think that was really special. And yes, we did see all the the pixel monster fan art and screenshots. We saw all of those, and things like that. And also, when they did encounter things like that, that rather than they kind of the community was really understanding, and they even ended up kind of putting these monsters on a pedestal and doing fan art of other monsters like Zenoga and things in that style, which was really good to see. So the community really got behind us, both celebrating it and encouraging people to play, but also the feedback. But I'll buff that over to Joe so I don't just like gobble it all up.
Yeah, as far as the feedback goes, I think where we're kind of sitting at right now, I think we know there's really kind of a like kind of key and core amount of I think concerns and things that are like kind of top of mind for people. I don't necessarily want to name them right now because
Yeah.
I don't want to get like people's expectations up, but we are tracking those really closely, and the team is really looking hard at them. Some of them already there are things that they've already had in mind and are already working on. um, those things are really important. So we're taking a look at them, and I think like as far as those go, it's kind of trying to determine like what's feasible for us to address, like what's actually like the most important right now. And there's some time towards at the end of development here, but there's also there's going to be updates and things like that. So like
Yeah.
what needs to go in updates, and what do we need to prioritize? So I think that's really what we're working on right now. But overall, I think super positive experience. It was really great just to see people excited about Monster Hunter, um, and like really cement this as like a really like huge game for next year. I mean, there's tons of games next year. It's a packed year, and it feels good to like have this like hype and excitement now that people have gotten just like a small taste of it.
Absolutely. And
Go ahead.
like, sorry, Rurikhan, after you.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, and it's the way, like, the community made Joe and I's life really easy when it came to gathering feedback, especially when it was negative stuff that people maybe like, they ran into issues and stuff. If it was on Reddit, if it was on Steam, if it was on Twitter, Facebook, whichever, Instagram, the community were always constructive, even if they were frustrated, which made we could collate things, we could like go through it without having our kind of sanity eroded by like people being really aggressive and things like that. It wasn't the case. So, once again, the community, the people playing in the beta, whether they were existing hunters or new, whether it was good feedback or maybe not so good feedback, it made our jobs really easy and quite pleasant as well. So, kudos to those that did share the feedback. And, we also had like the official survey too. So, it really made our jobs quite nice to go through that feedback and kind of pull that all together.
It was actually interesting because I remember Kanta specifically posting on Twitter like, "Can we get an option to play the game in polygon mode when when the final version comes out?" Because a lot of people unironically liked it, like you were saying.
Yeah.
They thought it was
people
funny.
were like really hyped about it. And they're like, "Oh, you got to add like a nod to it or something." Like, man.
Like a special event quest maybe where Polygon Ray Dow makes a comeback in the arena, something like that. That was interesting. How did you guys feel the overall response was to being able to wield 2 weapons into the field?
Go ahead, John.
That's an interesting one. I think it's interesting because, a lot of us hunters, we have like one weapon that we that's the one we're used to. So it's kind of like this new thing. And, it's been interesting seeing people that want to try a different weapon because they've liked the look of it, but they didn't want to have to hard commit in a hunt to it. And then we've got people that are obviously looking at like the more meta, like, hey, what can I do with the hunting horn as like a second weapon and things like that. So, I think it's been really interesting to see the different takes people are going for. Like, I'm kind of going down the middle and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go sword and shield and then either light bowgun or bow. So I've got like a ranged option. That's how I'm looking at it. But no, it's been interesting to see, like, much like focus mode as well, like how people are adjusting to this new thing.
Yeah.
I thought I would see more people like swapping in real time and that becoming like part of their meta. So maybe I missed it, but I felt like people were mostly kind of like, I'm carrying 2, but I'm still kind of like locked into like my main. So I don't know if you like saw it, but I'd be curious like to know if like a lot of people were like switching like midway through the hunt as part of like their, I don't know, their meta.
I haven't seen it so much because usually what you end up having with a lot of content is people trying to do like the best times in a monster. And usually what they're still, I feel like the community is still very much rooted in this concept of like, no, the speed running meta is made on a per weapon basis. So they go in there with 1 weapon and they fight the monster with 1 weapon. I think it's going to take a little bit for us to adjust to the point where you'll see like a thumbnail for a speed run, and rather than just having like the symbol of 1 weapon there, you see like 2 weapons. That'll be an interesting,
cool. Yeah.
That'll be an interesting swap.
I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of people taking 2 of the same weapon. Like, I'm really excited to see the synergy there. Like, take like a paralysis sword and shield along with like a raw or elemental, and then switching out at certain moments in the fight when you're going to want this, and you just taking 2 of the exact same gun lance because you don't want to sharpen. You're like, sharpening? I don't do that. Like, you just swap onto the second gun lance. But I got a new one right here. Like,
go ahead.
It's so funny. We've talked with Ryozo-san and Fujioka-san now, and each time we ask them like, what are the 2 weapons you're gonna take? These are the guys that added this to the game, right? Ryozo always says, I'm just taking 2 hammers, and then Fujioka-san, I'm taking 2 lances. They're like, guys, like, why did you add this if you're just gonna play like that?
I mean, they were like, what could make the hammer better? 2 hammers, and that's basically, it's great. It's a great thing because I'm the same. I'm like, what's better than 1 sword and shield? 2. So yeah, it's this flexibility. It's great kind of coming around to the idea of, you can take 2 different weapons, but what if you just take 2 of the weapon you really love?
I think it'll be very interesting. I'm still a little bit undecisive, but the reason I would take 2 gun lances is actually not to have 2 of the same one. It would be because of shelling styles. Because gun lance is almost like 3 different weapons. Remember, I have the wide shelling, the long shelling, the normal shelling, and this way I'd have access to both shellings in one go. But the other weapons that I'm considering for secondary would probably be Charge Blade, because it will have like good skill synergy, Sword and Shield, or Hunting Horn.
Good choices all around.
Yeah, Hunting Horn, very popular.
Yeah, I can imagine, but I'm not thinking about the Hunting Horn as like a pocket weapon. But before I start talking about Hunting Horn, because I'm gonna go crazy when I talk about that, is like so I know that Jonno, you're going like Sword and Shield and bow or bow gun or something like that, right? Those are your 2 choices. And Joe, what are you shooting for?
I think I'm doing gun lance and greatsword now. I think I've been converted.
Yes,
I'm converted.
I was hoping you'd say that, because I saw like your tweet and you were, I think I'm a gun lance main now. What happened? Tell us about it.
Yeah, I just was trying it on the stream, and then it's like the whole like I don't even know what you call like the full burst combo that goes
the full blast,
the full the
diagonal bursts.
I was like, whoa, this is crazy. So I don't know. I was just feeling it, and like I love how blocking feels in the game now. It's like really satisfying.
With perfect blocking.
Perfect, yeah, with a perfect block. And yeah, I don't know. I took out Ray Dow with it, and I was like, this is it. This is my personality now.
Yes. This is how I get the gun lance to get buffed. I slowly convert people to my side, and then eventually Capcom has to buff the gun lance.
Oh man!
Yeah, I'm like, Joe, why does the sentiment feedback just have a whole page on gun lance? It's fine, right?
Well, Rurikhan, I know you're a bullet barrage guy from Rise, but what were your thoughts like just on how it felt, like this new version of it?
The new version of the gun lance feels really good, mostly because we have one of the things that I feel most gun lance mains wanted, which is we can block faster. Because like one of the biggest problems with the gun lance, and if you go and you look at like most speed runs or the really good players, they would rarely ever block, because blocking was actually not particularly efficient for the gun lance. Because for starters, like let's say you do a full burst, it takes you a long time to go from a full burst combo into a block. It takes so long that you'll usually get hit before you get the block, but you can dodge. So they would go for evade window instead and try to dodge through everything because it's faster than blocking. And this time around, it feels like we can block way faster. And on top of it, we have guard points built in. So like full blast combo, the diagonal burst you're talking about, it's got guard points in the middle of the reloads. So every reload has a guard point. Even the long reload has a guard point to it. So say Ray Dow's coming and I do a reload and Ray Dow hits me and interrupts the reload, it'll still reload the shells. So it works kind of like a guard point for a Charge Blade, which feels really, really good. So that to me is like the biggest change that feels great. And then it's like, what's better than 1 Wyvern Fire? 2 Wyvern Fires. And what's better than that? Wyvern Fires that charge faster if you shoot them after a Wyvern Stake. So it's just good all around. And it doesn't have Wyvern Stake Blast from Iceborne, which I didn't like. So it's been massive changes, and it feels really, really good.
What do you think about the focus strike? What is it, like Drake's Augur or something like it?
It's like it's a really cool animation. It's a really cool move. But it is very hard to pull off, especially on Ray Dow, because if the thing is just like a little bit out of reach, you won't be able to like hit it, and then just sit there completely vulnerable. So but the animation is really cool, and so I would usually do it whenever it was on his legs, because that would give me like a knockdown. So I would use it then. But I think that in multiplayer, we're not going to see a lot of use for it, at least if people want to be civil, because there are other weapons that benefit so much more from popping wounds that I don't feel the need to break wounds. I'm like, no, like you should let the insect glaive people break the wounds because they need it for the extracts, or let Charge Blade break the wounds to get the Savage Axe. Yeah. So there's a ton of other weapons that benefit more from wounds. But I think it makes sense that for some weapons it's harder than others to pop the wounds, because it's kind of like a balance thing. Because Gunlance got a lot of really good changes, so it doesn't need like, oh, I want it to be as good at popping wounds as like the Charge Blade. Because the Charge Blade I felt was really good at popping wounds, because you just jump into the air and slash and breaks the wound instantly. And I don't think it needs to be that good for the Gunlance because we have so many other good things. And I don't think that every weapon needs to be the same when it comes to focus strikes. But Drake Auger is hella fun to pull off. It's very satisfying.
Yeah. I turned on the motion sensing control on DualSense for PS5, and then like I was going like crazy with it, like, trying to aim it up. That's fun.
That
I
feature,
recommend that.
That feature is actually on PC as well, which is one of the things that I was wondering is whether or not you guys are going to put motion controls on PC as well. And it is, but not for all controllers. So depending on your controller functionality. But I think if you plug in like a DualSense through USB, you can use motion controls just like you do on PlayStation, which is really good. While we're on the subject of weapons, what was your biggest surprise weapon that you've tried out? Like you tried out this weapon and you're like, oh my God, this weapon is crazy.
I think for me, the Switch axe.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I got you to interrupt each other. Okay, Jonno, go first.
Yeah, for me, the Switch axe, I think, because I really like the Switch axe in Sunbreak, especially, you know, you got there, is it the diving wyvern or flying wyvern?
Yeah.
And then you've also got, you know, the counter. And in Wilds, you know, the Switch axe has the counter. It's got all, you know, these flashy moves and things like that. So, you know, I know that I've got Sword and Shield and then Light Bowgun or Bow Down as like my options, but Switch axe is right up there as well. And it was really interesting seeing what folks were doing with the weapon too. Yeah, that's probably Switch axe for me.
How about you, Joe? What was your biggest surprise?
Yeah, I think I said it already with the Gunlance.
Oh, it's the Gunlance?
Yeah, okay. That was definitely the one that was most surprising. I really like the dual blades too. I didn't realize, like, I think what surprised me too was seeing how, like, the creative ways people were doing the focus strike, because it like brings you back out and then does that like crazy Attack on Titan thing. Seeing people like do that in all sorts of like weird ways.
I saw
maybe
the
like
one
unintended.
Yeah, the one,
you probably know what I'm talking
about. The Japanese clip or whatever it was that the player caught it right as Ray Dao's flying away, and then he just like flies in after him. That was that was
like
badass.
when you see it from this side, like I'm kind of like, oh God, they gotta fix that, but also like, oh, that was really cool.
No, what do you mean they gotta fix? That seems perfectly fine. I don't see a problem with that, unless the player ends up out of bounds. That could be a problem.
Yeah. It's like that. It's like that's gotta be unintended,
but it's so cool though.
It was really cool.
So one of the things about the Switch axe is definitely that new unbridled slash, Jonno. The unbridled slash feels really fun. It's and you can do it like at certain endpoints of the combo of the Switch axe, to where it just feels really natural. Like, okay, I did this thing, now I press R2, and boom, unbridled slash, and you can charge it, and like it's really crazy. So that was also really cool. I like the Switch axe, but the biggest surprise is the hunting horn. Did you guys play the hunting horn?
I actually didn't. Did
you?
Oh
my God!
No, I've been living vicariously through clips.
So
yeah.
Listen to me. If you have a chance to play again internally or whatever, the one that you got to play is the hunting horn, okay? Trust me. It feels so good because they changed the way, like, you know how in World, the way that it was, like, you'd play the 3 songs and then you'd start playing and you're sitting there playing until it does the 3 songs and then you press the button and it does the encore. Now it's a rhythm game like Perfect Rush. It's like Perfect Rush on Sword and Shield. So you perform the 3 songs, and then the encore, you have to, not the encore, the performance, you have to press the performance button at certain times, and it will deal bonus damage, and it feels so good. And it just feels cool because rather than hitting performance once, now you're supposed to perform, and then you hit the button again, and it attacks again. So you're not like stuck in there performing 3 songs. You actually get to attack in between performances, and that feels, it's such a massive change. It feels fantastic. And then you have the encore attack, deals bonus damage. Then, did you know that when you do that little echo bubble thing that leaves the bubbles in the ground, you can play 3 notes while you're doing that? During that animation, you can just straight up play 3 notes. When you do the focus strike...
Yeah, I heard about the focus strike one.
You can play 5 notes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a big surprise, and it feels fantastic to play because like monster falls down. Oh, let me put one echo bubble, two echo bubbles. Now I'm just gonna beat you with this performance, and the echo bubbles explode, and there's KO and exhaust damage popping all over the place. Like it was insane, and the sheer idea that a lot of people are looking at the hunting horn just thinking, oh, it's a pocket buff weapon. It's like no, you don't
So much
understand.
more.
But interestingly enough, another really cool thing about the hunting horn, you can both play notes and perform while you're on top of the Seikret. So you could be running around, playing like all of the notes, and then performing while you're en route to the monster. Which
Pretty
is
cool. The evolution of corner horning has been welcome.
No, not the corner horners. They need to use the doot stick to beat the monsters with the doots. They can't.
Can you imagine this? You're a Chatacabra and you're fighting a monster, fighting a hunter. This guy with a great sword's coming at you, and then suddenly someone sprints past, go doodle 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 doodle, and you're like, "What the?
What was that?
Like, what?
You guys see that?
That was really cool. But yeah, the hunting horn definitely my biggest surprise, and I would recommend people to check that one out for sure. So, did you guys get to play a little bit, at least with the character creator? How much time did you spend on the character creator, Joe?
Actually, not too much. I probably spent like maybe an hour just across like the different platforms. I'm actually not
that
like
much, just like an hour.
No, like split like 30 minutes on PS5, and then I play on PC too. So I also like deleted my save multiple times on purpose because I played and then I wanted to have a fresh save for the stream. So I deleted my save. I sacrificed for the greater good. But then I didn't want to like spend all the time on character creator. I'm personally like not a huge character creator person because I just like want to get into the game as soon as possible. But I mean, this is a pretty good one. Like they've done some crazy stuff with this thing.
The amount of character customization you're able to do with it is crazy. You can change the Palico voices, and that was a surprise because on the PlayStation 5 one, I just had like whatever the default voice was, and then I was watching Fightin' Cowboy's stream, and his Palico spoke kind of like this.
That's a great Fightin' Cowboy Palico. Yeah.
So I was like, what is that?
There's that first line from the Palico. It's like, this is gonna be great. Like, oh jeez. good God.
The way that when you change the Palicos to have like more manly voices, it gets really crazy. But that gets me to question: did you end up playing with Palico voices or with meows? Both of you.
Oh, I played with the voices.
You played with the voice? How about you, Jonno?
Yeah.
So I didn't get to play much of the actual beta when it was live because I was at Luca Games in Italy. So I missed out on that. But you know what? I enjoyed seeing all the Palico voices and hearing the Palico voices at the event when people were playing. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll kind of switch between. I don't know. Because I'm excited to see how the Palico voices, how your Palico is going to be involved and engaging in the story, and it's quite handy when it's telling you things out in the hunt as well. So
I was actually very surprised the first time that I started hearing the Palico speak, and I was like, because initially you hear it in the cutscene, but because we've seen the cutscene in trailers, right? We're already used. We know what's happening in that part. But then when I heard it out in the field, I was initially very like, I don't know. I think I might have to put the meows back on. I don't know how I feel about this, but then I got used to it, and I was like, actually, no. I think this is fine. But I think it was definitely the right decision to just have that be an option, to just be able to like, you can turn it off if you don't like it. It's whatever. But yeah, it was interesting seeing just the range of voices that you can get and just the range of customizability that you can do in the character creator app. I'm gonna link you guys a Twitter post that I made afterwards. I don't know if you guys got to see it, where I just said, "Show me your hunter." People started showing me all of their creators, and when you start looking at that, you're like, "What?" There was this one dude made an orc, an actual like orc with he used like a tattoo to make like fangs, and I was like, "That's crazy."
Yeah. Dogma 2 kind of like it kind of got me used to like what we can expect to see in these character creators, but like there's some pretty cool stuff. Like I saw a very realistic looking Kiryu. That was really good. I saw like Frieza and SpongeBob, or not SpongeBob, Squidward. Squidward is in there. I'm like, man, you guys cooked
People
with
got
this
really
thing.
creative with it. Yeah, they got really creative.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's still one thing that never happens in Monster Hunter. And you brought up the Dragon's Dogma 2 character creator, which is height. We can never change the height of our hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I really wanted that because I want to play a dwarf hunter. I want to make like a
Yeah,
fantasy
yeah.
dwarf, like I did for my Dragon's Dogma 2 character was a
Yeah, yeah,
dwarf.
yeah.
So it's like
My head immediately went the other way. I imagined you creating some giant guy whose knees are dragging in the sand as Seikret's trying to carry you over the juice. Like,
like Radon. It's like,
yeah, basically like Radon with his mule. Yeah.
Oh, that would be funny. That would be funny indeed. So out of the monsters that we got in this beta, which one was your favorite? Jonno, you go first.
I really actually like Doshiguma. I think it's such a great fight. So you know, in like, you know, if you played this single story trial quest,
Yeah.
you know, and you fight Chatakabra, who I also think is a fantastic intro monster. I think Doshiguma brings a lot to the table. I think it's a good challenge. It gives you lots of windows to try perfect blocking, perfect dodging, power clashes, you know, offset strikes and things like that. You know, when it's with its herd, it definitely gets a lot more difficult. I just think it's such a well-rounded monster, and you know, if you do kind of slack off a bit, it will even still give experienced hunters, you know, a cheeky slap, but not being like a big wall to newer hunters at the same time. So yeah, Doshiguma for me. Even though we've seen a lot of him, I really like the fella.
How about you, Joe?
I think everyone would expect me to say Ray Dow, which was, just an amazing fight. I think like for a lot of people, probably cemented as maybe like a new top monster. Uh, but I actually something I did while I was just like kind of testing out weapons is just destroy Chotacabra, just like in the videos. So he was my training dummy. I would just pick a new weapon, go out there, and just wail on him, and it's so satisfying. So yeah, Chotacabra surprised me with how satisfying it is just to like beat up on him. So I'm so sorry to all the Chotacabra lovers.
I think this must be an American thing because you just described 90% of the beta time of Fighting Cowboy. I promise you. That's what he was. He would just like load in, go beat up on Chotacabra. There was one point on the first beta because if in case you didn't know, the beta started at 2:30 in the morning for us. And no, actually at 3 in the morning. I would start my streams at 2:30 to be half an hour early. So I was streaming at 2:30 in the morning. And like when I was 8 hours into my stream, at one point I was like, hey, let's see what Fighting Cowboy is doing. Hey, let's actually do some multiplayer. So we figure out how the multiplayer works. We add each other. We get into each other's world. And I was like, all right, now let's do some hunting. And Fighting Cowboy's like, give me a minute. I got to go fight Chotacabra to test this weapon. And I'd be like, all right. And then after a while, I'd be like, hey, you want to come fight? And he's like, give me a minute. I got to go kill another Chotacabra. So it's like we were in multiplayer in the same world, and he was just like off killing Chotacabra over and over and over and over. We barely even played multiplayer because he'd just be killing Chotacabra. It's an American thing. You guys just love beating up on poor Chotacabra. But I will say, he is an amazing tutorial monster because he gives you a lot of openings for offset attacks as well. His tells are super obvious so that you can practice perfect blocks. And probably something that a lot of people might have not noticed, he also shows you that there are temporary wounds that are not wounds. They're like weak spots that you can exploit whenever he puts out his tongue and his tongue gets like stick in the ground. And if you pay attention to use focus mode, you're like, wait, that's showing as a wound, and you can like use a focus strike whenever his tongue is out. And I think that's a good way of doing it. And also, because of his coloring, it makes it very obvious for you to see when you've done a wound, even without using focus mode. Whereas like Doshiguma is a little bit harder because he's got all the fur. Because of the coloring of Chotacabra, it makes it obvious, like, oh, there's a wound there. I can see it, even if I'm not in focus mode.
designed to be a fun first monster.
Yeah.
Maybe like the team will create like a super hard Chotacabra.
Oh, they 100% will. The greatest Chotacabra. Yeah.
Yeah.
This gonna Trunkacabra or something. It's just absolutely huge. Yeah.
And he needs to be fast. Good. He needs to be like way faster than normal Chotacabra, just so that nobody's expecting it, and suddenly just does like a super fast attack with his tongue, throws you into the ground, and just like, wait, what happened?
It'd be like Ghost Harag when Ghost Harag stuns you and he slowly drags his arm along the floor. Need to be that, but Chotacabra dragging its tongue along the floor instead.
He's like,
yeah.
That'll be funny. So my favorite one, I think, also has to go to Doshiguma. I did not like Balahara. Balahara is annoying to fight because he's like halfway into the sand, and a lot of weapons moves will actually not even be able to hit him. So I'm just like, I don't like this monster. He's annoying, and he's very unpredictable too. I found like fighting Balahara, a lot of times he'll just like catch you off guard. He has like weird delays in his attack. Like it's gonna take me a while to get used to Balahara. Even during the beta, played like I think probably over 80 hours of beta or so, and I still felt like I don't know. I still don't know his moveset all that well. I do know Ray Dao's moveset.
I know Ray Dao's moveset too. I actually had trouble with Balahara as well. Like I just could not get its pattern down easily. Whereas the other monsters, I was like, okay, I'm getting this. But Balahara was a little challenging.
So I think it also has to go for Doshiguma for me. And there was a 5-star Doshiguma that I never even got to fight, apparently. People were saying it was tougher than Ray Dao.
Ooh. Dang, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, so apparently he could spawn every now and then in the map. I don't know exactly what were the conditions, but I never actually saw him spawn in my map. But he might have spawned when I wasn't paying attention, and then once I became aware, I was like, oh, there's a special Doshiguma, but I never actually got to fight him. But it was interesting to see that there's now like 3 different ways of starting quests in the game, right? That's it, right? 3 different ways. There's not another secret way that I didn't find.
You can start them in the field. You can start them via there's like 2 ways while talking to Alma, right? You can do like the one where it's like somebody in the lobbies posted it, and then you can just go. What's it?
It's like the traditional
you can post
counter.
A quest, then you can post a quest. Yeah.
You can post the quest, or you can join a quest that somebody's posted, or you can begin attacking the monster and that starts a quest, or you can open the map and choose it from there, and that can create a quest for that monster before you even attack it. Yeah. And those are the 3 ways that I'm aware of, but I don't know if there's more at this point.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Like I said, a lot of the online stuff is stuff we're still learning because we haven't played it like online outside of the beta. So
did you guys see a lot of people like starting quests in different ways and whatnot, or was it mostly like, oh no, we're just using the old-fashioned counter way or something?
Well, since I played a good part of the PS5 beta, and then when I got on PC, like I didn't want to have to go through the whole thing of like, I'm gonna do Ray Dao like on my own. So I just jumped into the lobby.
Join somebody?
Just join via the lobby, and I ended up just ended up being the way that I did most of my quests, at least. Just like went down that list. I'm like, what's open? Okay, let's just go to this lobby. That was pretty fun. I thought it was really intuitive, so I enjoyed doing it that way.
I played mostly solo, so mostly you played with random people then, I would imagine.
I did a mix, I guess. I did solo when I was just like trying to learn weapons, and then I was like pretty hell bent on soloing Ray Dao, so I did that a few times. So otherwise, like just playing casually, I just did online.
Yeah, but it was I think it'll be interesting to see how people actually start quests when we get to the final version of the game. So we've gotten the new mechanic of perfect guards. Jonno, I'm curious, how do you feel about perfect guards with the sword and shield?
Oh, I love it. I think it addresses one of the biggest weaknesses of the sword and shield's shield, which is obviously it was the weakest shield, right?
Yeah.
And you'd have to invest into guard if you really wanted to kind of use it proactively a lot of the time. But now with perfect block, like you're rewarded for that precision, and you can just tank a lot more with sword and shield, if you're kind of like getting your timing down. So it's added this great kind of optional way of kind of demonstrating your skill, and it's kind of increased the skill ceiling on the weapon. without taking anything away from it. And I absolutely love it. I think when we were playing at Gamescom, I actually had a really good combo of like a power clash into like 2 or 3 like perfect blocks in a row, and it felt brilliant. Yeah, the weapon feels so fluid, and if that's how it feels for the sword and shield, like when you were talking about the gun lance and you know your guard points and stuff, I was like, as well with the blocks, because you can block, you don't have any recoil, you get the perfect block, you're straight back in again. So you know, for someone that really likes weapons that can guard, oh, I love perfect block. I love it, and you
Yeah.
get like the little white flash and everything, and it's like, oh, very nice.
The biggest thing about perfect block in Sword and Shield, I felt, was like I wanted a meteor counter to come out of it.
You got you got like the sunbreak kind of pinging at the back of your head, like.
Yeah, I want like, oh, give me a Shoryugeki after the
Yeah.
counter or something like that. It's like I really want Shoryugeki for Sword and Shield, but it doesn't seem like it's in the cards. I mean, you kind of get Shoryugeki with the focus strike.
Yeah, if you
Kinda.
press circle. Oh, yeah, when
You
you
press
press
circle is like go
circle,
up.
yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I just kind of wish there was like a more meaty attack to come out of the counter for Sword and Shield. Because like for instance, I can counter into a Wyvern Fire, into a faster than normal Wyvern Fire, which feels really good, or into a Slam Burst or something like that. So yeah, all of those feel fantastic. What about you, Joe? Any cool moments with Perfect Guard?
You know, something I was struggling with the greatsword was that I just never ever block with the greatsword.
Yeah.
In
So
any
don't
game
get clashes.
yeah, and then all of a sudden I'm just like, well, this is actually viable now and like really important as part of like the moveset. So it was really, I thought it was really satisfying with the greatsword to hit the perfect guard and then you get the clash and everything, which is really
What
cool.
are what are
So
the
I was using it
follow-ups?
way more.
What are the follow-ups for Perfect Guard on Greatsword? Actually, I haven't checked that.
Um, I don't remember the exact. I think it
It's
was
probably
just
some skip
yeah,
a
yeah,
couple of things to go into True Charge Slash or something, I would imagine.
yeah. To double check, but
Yeah, but
I thought it was like really satisfying to hit
those
those.
power clashes though. Did you
Oh yeah,
nail a lot of the power clashes with Greatsword?
like a 50-50 hit rate maybe.
It's a
And the
bit of a
offset
struggle.
strikes too. So yeah, it's just trying to get the timing down, but it's
Yeah,
so satisfying when you hit it. I thought the offset attack was a little bit more forgiving. Like you could get it like outside of like where you think the window would get, and you're like, oh dang, I didn't know.
yeah. I felt like from all I didn't do a lot of offsets, but from all the weapons that I tried out, I feel like Greatsword had the best offset experience for me. I've heard a lot of people say that it's also very good in the hunting horn. The way that it works in the hunting horn is so weird. You play like a 4-note song, and that banks you an offset attack until you use it.
Oh,
It's
really?
yeah, it just banks you. It's like now you have an offset attack, and then you use it, and then you have to play the 4 tunes again to get your offset.
In my head, I just imagine someone like aggressively playing the hunting horn and just stopping a headbutting the monster and getting back to it or something. Like,
Yeah, no, but it was interesting. I think that I had the most success with Greatsword and I had the worst success with Hammer. I was always trying to go in there with the Hammer, but the way that it works with the Hammer is you either need a level 2 charge or the third combo in the triangle. And I was like, the monster's coming. I'm like, quick, do 2 attacks so that I can counter. So I don't think I landed a single one with Hammer, which is a shame.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. Yeah. It's like when you can't get into it quickly, it's like you're trying to plan for it, and then you're never gonna try to plan.
No, but I think it will. I think Hammer mains will get it. Like I saw a clip of somebody getting it and going straight into the mighty charge swing and doing all of that stuff, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that you get the counter and then you go straight into a level 3 mighty charge, and okay, that's pretty crazy. But yeah, that stuff was a ton of fun. So with the system that we had in the beta, we didn't really get to test out tracking all that much. Do we know how tracking is going to work yet, or no?
I think we've just shared that you will track the monster the first time you kind of look for it. But that's about as much. I think that was shared at Tokyo Game Show, possibly. But yeah, I think that's it. You will track the monster when you've not discovered it yet.
Yeah, beta was designed just to
you just jump in there.
So
the monster is in there. I've also heard something about time actually goes faster in the beta. I'm not 100% sure how that works, like in terms of the weather patterns changing. Like it's not going to be the same in the final version.
Yeah, I think that is accurate. It was trying to like show you all three phases of
Yeah.
the Winter Plains weather patterns. They'll be like a little bit more unpredictable in full game, and you won't necessarily like see all three of them in a single hunt. But we wanted to show all three of them, so
Yeah.
at least I think for each of the hunts that were like designed for the beta, that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
There's something in the full game that I think a lot of people will find is like there'll be reasons that you'll want to like go visit your friend's environment because the areas will like the world states will all be different. It's like not going to be like so canned. It did feel like a little bit more canned in this because it's like a small slice, but like in the
Yeah.
open or the full game, then you'll be like, oh, I have this like happening in my game, so like maybe you should come join me, and then you can expand that out to like all the locales in the game, and that'll be like way more variety. So that should be cool to see.
One of the things that I've noticed is that you would have different gathering materials available depending on which weather state the world was in. So that was definitely something that I was like, interesting. Like I was trying to find this thing that was salt pepper because I thought that that was going to be like some type of ingredient, although apparently that's not what salt pepper is, right? Salt pepper is something else. Because I'm not a native English speaker. I'm like, I hear salt and pepper. That sounds like food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get some condiments.
So, but salt pepper is something else. But I was trying to like find that in the map because I had seen it in the list of ingredients, and I was like, salt pepper. I should find this. Like you could go to Kunafa to find cheese. You could get cheese out of the people in Kunafa, which I'm assuming in the final game we're gonna get that stuff in different ways. It's not like, oh, just come to Kunafa, they'll give you cheese.
Yeah, there's like a trading system, I think. It's not like a whole like crazy system or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's more like they're a vendor, but I think like in the beta they just hand it to you.
Yeah,
Here
you
you
just go in there
Yeah.
and the Yasai that you save, he gives you the cheese, and then there's another old lady that's in there, she gives you cheese as well, which just ends up being another ingredient that I think gave you Feline Defender, which is really good if you're trying to get like a good time on Raydao or something like that. Feline Defender, as it turns out, one of the better skills to have.
Yep.
So a couple of things about the settings. Do you guys use focus mode on hold or toggle?
I was using it on hold, but then I saw you were talking about using it on toggle, and other people were using it on toggle. And
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to end up actually trying it, but I think next time I'll give it. Seemed like it was pretty useful.
How about you, Jonno?
Me, I was hold gang.
Yeah.
I thought it was perfect for how I kind of play the sword and shield. So yeah, I was just like just quickly having little dipping in and out of it really quickly and things like that. So yeah, hold was perfect for me.
But it's been interesting because I've seen a lot of people ask for that feature, and I was like, it's already there. It's I guess people were so excited to play they didn't go through the options. I even made like a thing. Yeah.
You want to unga bunga, you don't want to have to read kind of thing when you get your first hands on. Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to read the options. That's boring. So, but yeah, there is an option there to put it to toggle, and I think it's one of those things that it is almost worth it to have an individual setting for each weapon where you go like, okay, I want to be able to, if it's sword and shield, I want it on hold. If it's insect glaive, I want it on toggle, and you would be able to like change it based on the weapon. I think that would be something really cool. Right now you can change it based on whether it's a melee weapon or a ranged weapon, which is also important because for ranged weapons, it feels better to just hold on the trigger than to toggle it. That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
aim down sights.
Yeah, you want to aim down sights. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see. How did both of you feel about the focus mode all around?
I mean, I love focus mode. Yeah, after you, Joe, you go first. What have you done, Rurikhan?
Got him again. Go ahead, Joe.
I loved it. I mean, I've like really enjoyed focus mode. I think all like the unique attacks were really cool. Now that I think when I first got hands on with it, I'm just like I was not using it enough. Just like I wasn't quite there yet. Now I feel like it's something that's like really a core part of how I play the game. And I just like the ways that you can kind of like get into all the different focus attacks. And I think with Greatsword, it's like, man, what was life like without this? Like,
The old days.
yeah, like seeing people do the wake up now, or just like you don't have to like measure out anymore. You can just like you
Just
just
attack
do
off
it
to
and
the
you just
side. Yeah.
turn. Yeah, like oh my god, life is so different now. So yeah,
It
it's great.
it's definitely going
But
to be one of those features that if you guys take it away in a future iteration, people are going to really struggle without it. But Jonno, go ahead. What about you? Focus mode.
Yeah, I love the flexibility. I mean, like Joe, I love the focus strikes. They're so meaty. Some of them look so flashy as well. And I love with like the sword and shield, which is all about versatility. You get two different
You
ways to
get two
finish your
ones.
focus strike.
Yeah.
And that you can also start a focus strike from the air with sword and shield as well. I just love it. And yeah, like Joe said, you've got all this, you can aim, you can be much more mobile. Yeah, I really, I'm kind of gushing about it, but I just think it's so cool, both from like a newer player perspective, like an easy way to do these really cool, powerful hits that kind of impact the monster. And then, from speaking at it from someone that's, seeing their favorite weapon kind of evolve, like we are all of the 14 weapons. Yeah, I absolutely adore it.
Yeah. It's one of those features that it's like I'm still a little bit conflicted with it because of like, some of the feedback I gave you and whatnot about the way that some of the weapons, that video that I made about how some of the weapons get the turn on certain points and other ones don't. But that part I'm still a little bit conflicted with, but overall, I think it feels really good to just be able to readjust, like to the point where it's very hard to land a full blast combo without focus mode because your character will start the animation and will end up like facing Narnia, go past the monster or something, and then you're like, oh, I have to turn around. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting mechanic. But I also feel like that's gonna make some of the monsters in the end game also be way faster in order to compensate for just the agility that the hunters have right now.
I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, we look at Rise and Sunbreak, and obviously we had the wire bugs,
Yeah.
and people are, oh, the hunters are going to be really powerful now. Like, how are we going to stop them, kind of thing? And it's like the monsters had ways to deal with
And then
wirefall,
has
which is like
Hazard.
90% of my carton. So like, and I think we see even you guys both mentioned Balahara, right?
Yeah.
How it's more unpredictable and its move sets weren't as traditional as you expected. So it's kind of like a bit of an arms race between the hunters and the monsters. And we've got this cool new kit which gives us more flexibility and accuracy, but as you've seen, there's monster herds. Balahara doesn't seem to behave by the traditional expectations you might have as hunters. So yeah, you're it's great kind of seeing both sides of the coin get new tricks to use against each other. That's kind of how I see it anyway.
Yeah. The how did you guys ride your Seikret? Did you ride it with the default setting or did you change any settings on Seikret?
yeah, I know a lot of people were fans of Type 2, which is like more
Yep.
similar
Just
to like the way the hunter
yep.
controls. I would like we've played a good amount of the game already, so I mean, I'll say this for myself. Like the first time I used the Sacred, it has the auto pathing and the auto move. It's actually quite an adjustment for me. Um, Now I'm pretty used to it, so now I'm like moving off of Type 1 and going to Type 2 is actually weird for me because I've gotten used to Type.
You have muscle memory,
But
yeah.
yeah, but I totally respect like people want something that like feels really intuitive to them and like how they move the hunter. So I totally get that. Um,
It I was
so
telling
for me, Type 1, but yeah,
I was
go ahead.
telling people that it's almost like stick shift and auto. Because like you're like, oh, I'm gonna press R1 and now he's gonna go faster, and press R1 again and he's gonna go faster, and then you press R2 and he slows down. Or you can just like use the stick and he speeds up and slows down depending on what you're doing. But yeah, how about you, Jono?
Yeah, I mean, I like the flexibility. I don't mind kind of yanking Seikret out of like auto tracking mode. But then, as someone who regularly still gets lost in the ancient forest, having that little bit of initial direction is not necessarily a bad thing for me. But no, I like it because in its default set, and I know experienced hunters might be more like, hey, I don't need to be shown around, but you know, when we think about those new players, like you mentioned at the start, a lot of new faces coming into
Oh
Monster
yeah,
Hunter, hopefully, you
definitely.
know, I think that will help them a lot, especially with these huge locales that, you know, we're working with and playing in. But no, I just left it as is, and I was just like, no, Seikret, we're going this way. Thank you very much. But you know, when it comes to the full game, you know, I'll probably have a fiddle and fine tune it, you know, because you know, once I'm familiar with the locales anyway.
There was a lot of stuff in the locale that we got access to, the Windward Plains. Like there's a lot of verticality to it. There's the zone up top with the 3 traps that you can drop on monsters.
Yeah, yeah.
I found like this crystal cave that was also really high up that you could even like put a pop-up camp in there. And it was like really beautiful from the inside. It's got like these crystals, just like a whole crystalline room almost. That was pretty interesting, like just exploring the whole map. But I do have a question. I don't know if you guys can answer. Is this the full map of the Windward Plains?
I don't think we can answer that. I actually don't know.
So yeah, and I mean, one obvious bit is it doesn't have the connection between Windward Plains and the Scarlet Forest. But yeah, I mean, yeah, we don't fully know. Yeah, you know, it's like at Gamescom when I saw the underwater bit for the first time, and I was like, "What?
You can go underwater?"
Yeah, I don't want to say like with any definitive like statements because you know, like remember in Iceborne, it's like there's a part of like the map that was blocked off a little bit because you didn't get there into the story yet. So I actually have no idea. So I don't know if that's like something that's in there. So that's not me confirming or denying it. I just literally don't know.
I suspect that there's more because specifically when you're in the dunes area, there's a section that you can't go to because wind stops you. Like you start going and there's like a wind wall that doesn't let you move past that. And I was like, it doesn't feel normal. It feels like there should be more in this area. Like there's something weird. But yeah, I was just curious. So I don't really have a whole lot more. I just wanted to ask, and I don't think that we're gonna get like a big answer on this one, but how much can still be changed at this point of development? Because I know that people had a lot of feedback that they wanted to give, particularly with things like the insect glaive. Like I know that a lot of people like the bounce, bring back the bounce, and it's like I get it. It's everybody who mains it, they got used to using the bounce in World and Rise Sunbreak, and they had a lot of fun with that. And now that the bounce is gone. Now, me personally, from my experience with the insect glaive, I actually like what the insect glaive is like right now, except for the control scheme. Not a big fan, but I am curious, like, at this point in development, like, is there still like a lot of things that can potentially be changed?
You want to jump on this?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, you know, because I think, you know, we've kind of touched on it in little bits throughout the call, and it's a good question as well. But I think ultimately it's going to be pointing back to the tweet, you know, about the feedback we've received from the beta, and the team are working really hard, kind of digesting it and analyzing and looking to address things. So it's very much like, you know, when the team are ready to kind of share their feedback on the feedback and things, you know, we'll let you know. But you know, we held an open beta test this far out for a reason.
Yeah.
But you know, we can't obviously comment or commit to anything. And as Joe said, you know, we don't want to get hopes up and stuff like that. But you know, the team are cooking. So you know, I'll pass over to Joe.
Yeah, I mean, just to add on, I mean, the team is working really hard. Like, I sometimes like we get emails and like things from them like at hours that they should not be working at. So like rest assured that like they're cranking away at the game like really hard. A lot of the things that people have brought up are things that have already been identified before the beta even happened and the team's already working on. Like seeing the feedback confirms that sort of stuff. So it's like, okay, yes, now we know, like, let's prioritize this. Let's try to get this in like as soon as possible. um so it's things like that. There's definitely still time for a lot to be done, but again, we don't want to like promise like, you know, the moon and like it's going to be a completely different game in February. That's like that sort of thing's not going to happen. But like, you know, again, like the feedback is there for a reason. The beta happened for a reason. Like,
I actually
hard on everything.
I actually also wanted to ask, do you have any feedback on what the team morale is like at this point? Considering that you guys get to speak with the team and all of that.
Yeah, it's from my up like from like it's great. Basically, we've come off these amazing events where the community have been fantastic, the reception to the trailers, to the beta. I think we're all excited and we want to deliver. Basically,
Yeah. I mean, like, what are we at? Like, I mean, we see like the numbers come in and like where we're at and we're tracking, and it's like it's exciting. It's also a little terrifying because like we're seeing how big the game is, and we're like, yeah,
Yeah.
like we got to deliver on this. So I think I think with any like big AAA game, it's like it's excitement, but it's also like there's no harsher critic of your own game and like your own success than like the people working on it. So it's like, yeah, we're nervous and we're like we want to deliver on this, and we won't know it until it's in people's hands. So that's where the nervousness comes from.
Yeah. One of the final things that I would bring up is definitely the music has been one of the big surprises, because like I'd seen the music in trailers, but actually just hanging out at camp and listening to it, I was like, I'm more into this soundtrack, I feel, than I've ever been into the soundtrack of another Monster Hunter game almost. It's crazy.
I
yeah,
like the like synth sound kind. I don't know if it's like synth is like the right way to describe it,
Yeah.
but like you kind of hear it's
yeah.
like the ditter 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 ditter, like that part's cool.
Yeah, but that one was from the teaser trailer. I actually haven't heard that one in the game itself, which was surprising. I was like, oh, I wonder where this one's gonna pop up, but it's probably like a
Yeah.
big boss close to the end. But I was talking more about like the strings in the game. So I made a little Wilds ambient music
Yeah,
waiting
I saw
room
it. I
thing.
listened to it. Yeah, I was like, oh, thank God someone did this.
Exactly. How about you, Jonno? What did you think
Yeah,
about the
for me,
music?
it's when the beat drops, just like da 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 da. And you
Yeah,
got like that is really emotive for me.
the
Like,
menu music.
really
Yeah,
gets me going. Like, and I'm just like, how this is evoking so much. Like when we've only seen such a small portion of the game, kind of thing, right? And I'm like, that's some powerful music. Like,
I can't wait to hear like the full blast proof of a hero rendition for Wilds. It's gonna be absolutely insane. There's also like the main theme. Like somebody uploaded the main theme on YouTube that I've used on a bunch of live streams at the beginning. Like, oh, this is let's go, Monster Hunter Wilds. It's such a good soundtrack this time around that is absolutely insane. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I know that you guys are still like collecting data from the open beta and all that stuff, and there'll be more to talk about at a later date. But for now, I'll just give you guys the final word. Jonno, you can go first for anything that you would like to address the community about.
yeah, once again, thank you everyone for once again playing the beta, telling your friends about the beta, and getting stuck in. And thank you for the feedback. It really is important, and it really does help. And thank you again for the way that you delivered that feedback. It was really cool. And I'll pass over to Joe now.
Yeah, we're feeling good coming out of the beta. I mean, I think like we spent like those like I don't know how many weeks it's been since the beta, but I feel like I was just like in like all the feedback for like 2 straight weeks of just like having meetings talking about it, like trying to list out as much as possible, and also to just like sift through it. So yeah, thanks again to everybody for sharing that stuff. It is super important. It's good to know where we're at and like what we need to work on and what we can address. So yeah, but look forward to hearing a little bit more.
And for me, for starters, thank you both very much for making the time to come over and hang out and chat about Monster Hunter Wilds. For the community, if you guys want to send any messages to Joe and Jonno, leave those in the comment section down below. I'm sure they'll be checking out the comment section for a couple of days. And yeah, that is going to be it for now. Do remember to vote on Monster Hunter Wilds for most anticipated game. I want to make sure that, that we win. I think that would be such an epic win
Pretty cool.
at the Game Awards. And yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one. So if you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe bell, notification icon, all that jazz. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.